Hey, good Wednesday afternoon. I'm meteorologist Taylor Cox, and we appreciate you jumping on for your forecast today. Hey, we have told you just day after day after day that Denver could be in the crosshairs of some bigger storms that could produce some hail today. Now, could that happen today? You know, yesterday we saw storms just outside of Denver produce hail and high winds, and we'll talk about that here in just a few minutes. But what about that chance for storms today? We'll talk about Denver. We'll talk about Carolinas. We officially have an upgraded risk for the Carolinas, level 3 enhanced risk today. That's brand new information. So if you saw the weather earlier this morning, it has officially been upgraded to that enhanced risk level 3. And mainly the reason for that is because of those high winds that we are going to see today. They're going to pulsate up and down. These storms are going to go really strong and then a little bit weaker and then really strong, a little bit weaker, and they're going to take us on a roller coaster ride. So you're going to have to be very attentive about these storms today. And hey, did you guys know it's hurricane season? I don't think the Atlantic knows that yet, because we have not seen any significant Atlantic storms at all this year. We have talked about Andrea, now post-tropical storm, or maybe just a few waves out in the ocean right now. It was not very, it didn't last very long, not very long lasting. The Pacific has been pretty active though. So let's get to your forecast for today, and I'll be watching on the side of the screen over here. I can see your questions today. So let us know what questions you have. Now I see a few people already hopping on here saying good afternoon to the Hail Trace team. We appreciate you hopping on here today. Yes, we do have Iowa in the forecast today. I know there's always questions about Iowa, but we also have the southeast coast. So we're talking about the Carolinas here all the way up the east coast to Pennsylvania. And we also have a risk for storms across Nebraska, Colorado, including Denver, Wyoming, Montana, and the Dakotas. How many states is that today? That's a lot of states included in some sort of severe risk. Tomorrow we're going to do it again, where we've got 3 areas for a marginal risk tomorrow, and then 2 for Friday. So it's just kind of like day after day after day of storms here, which has been a pretty consistent pattern over the last few weeks. Now, yesterday we said, could Denver get hit with that large hail? And I think that we did a pretty good job with this forecast, because we did get hail just to the south of Denver along I-25 here. We got several severe thunderstorm warnings, but this turned very quickly from a hailstorm to a windstorm. And after that, it was just like wind report after wind report. We did get some really strong wind in here, as well as a few reported, or at least tornado warned sections of this line of storms. So that's what we saw yesterday out in Colorado. I think we did a pretty good job with nailing Denver and then places to the east. However, Denver itself, like the city itself, didn't get hit. It was right outside of the city. Other places around the country had some strong winds from Louisiana all the way up to Tennessee, into Ohio, Michigan, and even the New England states had some strong winds from these thunderstorms yesterday. So wind will be a factor for today. We're also watching one area for a tornado risk and another area for a large hail risk. So we'll break down which is which areas should you be watching for tornadoes, which areas should you be watching for hail. But before we get into that here, I do want to go ahead and get into our current and active severe thunderstorm warnings. So right now we have a severe thunderstorm warning for Gilmore, Littleton, and Rich Hill. 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, that's it. Not even watching for any hail over here. Yeah, I don't think that this would be the area for hail today. No, and let me zoom out. Actually, what are we looking at here? Let me zoom out. We're looking at West Virginia into Maryland. That's what we're looking for. We actually do have a brand new storm report. So let's see what this is from the National Weather Service. This is a storm report for a tree down on Northwestern Parkway, just west of Junction, West Virginia. And we have another severe thunderstorm warning, once again for that high wind, about 60 miles an hour, and quarter-size hail. This right here, I think will be something that you're going to see very often today. You're going to see that marginal severe thunderstorm warning. This is what we call marginal risk. 60-mile-per-hour wind speed, just barely into that severe threshold, and quarter-size hail, if any hail at all. So moving on here, because that's our severe thunderstorm warnings ongoing right now, but we have 3 areas that we're watching for later today. We've got a little boundary that's sitting down here between a high pressure system and a low pressure system, and this is going to create a few strong storms today with some high wind. We've also got a boundary sitting out just along the Rockies. Now this stalled boundary right here is something that makes, or should make, every single person at Hail Trace perk up and say, oh, Denver could have storms today, because this boundary, if it wobbles just a little bit, could create some really impressive storms in Denver. Now, a few miles will make a big difference. A small movement could be the difference between large hail or nothing at all. So this is something that we watch very, very carefully this time of the year, because it's really up to just a very small, minute few details or few factors that could produce this large hail, which is kind of hard to forecast for. Ask any meteorologist. This is a hard time of year to forecast for this area. And we'll talk a little bit more about those hazards in just a few minutes. We've got some ongoing showers and storms from Minnesota all the way to Nebraska right now. Nothing severe at the moment, however, we could see that change later on. 70s, 80s, 90s, oh my, it's warm out there. Remember that high pressure system I talked about earlier? There it is, sitting across the East Coast right now, bringing some really warm temperatures to Charleston and Atlanta, 94 across Atlanta right now. Maybe that rain today could cool them down across Atlanta. That's possible. Now let's go into that hail risk, because I think a lot of people will have questions about hail today. The starting area that you see just off the bat, right? Let me move out of the way here so you can see the entire U.S. Where does your eye go to? The Northern Rockies? Probably. That's where my eye goes to. Now, I mean, we could talk about the East Coast. I don't think that there's much to talk about down there for your hail risk. Now, for your wind, yes, we'll talk about it. For your hail risk today out on the East Coast, I'm not too concerned about this. Maybe some quarters could mix in there, maybe some half-dollar size hail, but for the most part, this is what we call pocket change hail. Your nickels, your dimes, your pennies, maybe getting up to quarters. Really, what are we watching for today for that larger hail risk? Will be anywhere from Colorado all the way up the Wyoming and Dakotas state line there and into Montana. Let's actually, I think, yeah, I'm gonna play this all the way out one more time, because I actually have this zooming down into Colorado. So let's play this one more time here. Hang on, let my graphics load. Well, while I'm waiting, let's see if we have any questions. Waiting for these graphics to load. Vic says, hey Taylor, hope you are good. Welcome back. Another chance yet in Denver. Yes, another chance for storms in Denver today. And actually, I'm glad that you asked that, because let's zoom down into Denver and let's take a look at the hail risk in Denver today. Now remember, on your significant hail model, the deeper these colors get into those oranges and reds, the higher likelihood we are to have larger hailstones. Okay, one more time. Let me say that one more time. Those oranges and reds means larger hail. So let's see what we can get here in Denver today. Ooh, okay, we've got some orange mixing in here. I would say that's up to golf ball size hail. And then you see some of those larger hailstones just a little bit to the north and west. And again, we've got that boundary sitting right along I-25, maybe a little bit to the east there. So we're really watching for this area for storms to fire up today and then track to the east. So let's move on and let's get to your official Hail Trace hail forecast. What's the max forecasted hail size for today? I put that at hen egg-sized hail. I don't think that we're going to get up into tennis ball quite yet. Storms would really have to surprise us to get up into tennis ball size hail, but hen egg-sized hail I think is absolutely possible today. Where? Again, we're not going to spend too much time out to the southeast. You're going to have a low chance for hail out here. Really what I want to talk about are the Northern Rockies here, anywhere from Denver to Cheyenne, Scotts Bluff, Rapid City, and Miles City. That will be your hail risk for today. Right in here, this is where we're watching for hail. Now let me break this down for you hazard by hazard. Your hail risk, Northern Plains, Northern Rockies. Your tornado risk gets into Iowa, and I know that we have questions on Iowa. I can already see questions about Omaha on here right now. What ingredients are missing here for hail. I know, right? Because you guys have a really good tornado risk out in Omaha, but you do not have a good hail risk, okay? So yeah, you're missing ingredients, right? And then you've got your wind risk farther out to the east. Alrighty, I'm all over the map here, so let me go back to your hazard map. Let's talk about that wind risk. Anywhere from the southern side of Florida all the way up to the northern side of Montana, we have a wind risk for today. The main area that I'm watching for that high wind risk will be out in the East Coast. So we're talking about Atlanta to Charlotte to Mobile, Alabama. Could you get some higher wind gusts mixing in from Des Moines to Omaha to Cheyenne? Yeah, it's possible. But I really think that those storms that will produce the strong, potentially damaging winds will be out on the East Coast. So we're talking about Alabama, Georgia, North and South Carolina, portions of Tennessee, all the way up to the Virginias. And we've already seen a damage report from the Virginias today. Atlanta and Charlotte, that's your level 3, your high risk for strong storms today, producing strong and high wind gusts today. So we're talking about anywhere from 65 to 75 miles an hour on the stronger end of this range right here. Now, what about that tornado risk? So that tornado risk will bring us right into Iowa. So let's fast forward into that tornado risk here. There we go. We're talking about Des Moines, Omaha, Sioux Falls, and Rochester. So again, 3 things that we're watching for today. Hail risk out in the northern Rockies, tornado risk through the northern plains, wind risk down to the south and east. It's a level 1, but it's still something to note today. From Sioux Falls all the way down to Omaha, Des Moines, and up to Rochester, we are watching for a few isolated tornadoes from a long line of storms that could every now and then cause a spin-up tornado. Now let's continue and let's talk about your timeline today. So storms this afternoon will start to fire in an almost random fashion. Let me actually pause this and go back. Let's go all the way back here. Yep. Now watch this as I play this through, and I can control it off the screen over here. So down in the southeast, watch as storms fire up all at once, almost at the same time. Now these storms are really feeding off of that daytime heating. The sun comes down, and then what happens to that heat? It goes back up into it radiates off of the surface, back up into the atmosphere, right? So it's warm, and storms are gonna feed off of that daytime heating. Now, their storm motion, we talk about storm motion, where these storms going, usually goes out to the east, right? Not necessarily today. You're going to see almost a random storm motion as these storms continue to fire up very, very quickly today and have an almost random way of movement. Moving through here. Now, with this, what comes up must also come down. So the strong wind gust is going to be the primary factor today as we head into the evening hours. These storms, the severity of these storms will go down after sundown. So as we lose that daytime heating, we also lose that strength for storms today. I know we had a question about Omaha. I hope that this answers your question here, because what you're going to see here is a line of storms strengthening as we head into the afternoon, tracking to the east into Nebraska and Iowa as we head into the evening hours. And what's going to happen here is you can see embedded tornadoes in this line of storms. And one thing that I see from this is, let me just fast forward here, 5, 6 o'clock here. It's pretty difficult for hail to form in these line of storms here. What hail needs to form are these isolated storms. So these isolated supercells are going to be really, really good for storm organization, and that's going to be good for larger hailstones. What you're going to see here are maybe some embedded tornadoes, maybe some isolated tornadoes, and some higher wind gusts moving through the evening hours here into, 11 o'clock here. One thing that we're watching for in addition to those tornadoes tonight will be those strong wind gusts. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. Moving on to Denver. All right, I know we have a lot of questions about Denver here. And here's what I did. Not only did I show you the entire northern Rockies here, but I also will zoom down into Denver and give you a timeline for the city itself. So here we are about 3 o'clock this afternoon. We've got a few storms going up. Those storms will hug I-25, maybe just to the west of I-25, but then very, very quickly, tracking across the east of I-25 today. By about dinner time, those storms should be moving out of Denver, but think about what happens right before dinner time, rush hour. So could you get storms during rush hour? That is absolutely possible. By the time you go to bed tonight, all of the storms will be moved off to the east here into places like Rapid City, the western side of Nebraska, and the western side of Kansas. By the time we hit Nebraska and Kansas, those storms will start to weaken. But I told you we would zoom right down into Denver, and we would talk about the timeline for Denver today. So one more time here, storms are likely to go up right around or shortly before the evening commute. So we're talking about mid to late afternoon here. Crossing I-25, let's go a little bit faster here. There we go. Okay, crossing I-25 during the evening commute, so about 5 to 7 o'clock this evening. You've got dinner plans. You got to watch for those storms out there. Then they'll continue to track to the east along 76, right along to the east here. As we head into the evening hours, by about 7, 8 o'clock, Denver, you are severe clear. You can enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll continue to see those storms track into eastern Colorado and western Nebraska. Now, before I move on, I know that was a lot of information for a lot of different areas across the country. What questions do we have out there? Joseph, great question. So the Denver metro area has a good chance for hail today. I would call it about a level 2 risk for hail, level 2 on a scale of 4. This type of boundary that we have set up right here is sitting right along I-25. Now, if it wobbles just a little bit to the east or west, that is going to be a big, big impact for if you get hail in Denver. So really, it's these minute factors, these minute differences that could be a big, big impact for your forecast today. That's why it's just so difficult to forecast in this area. Any other questions? I don't see any other questions right now, but we're happy to answer any of those questions that pop up within the next few minutes. In the meantime, I'm going to continue to go through our forecast here because we do have other chances for storms throughout the rest of the work week, Thursday and Friday. One thing that I want to point out right here, do you see this circle right here? It's not very well defined, but this is a high pressure system that's sitting over the Tennessee and Kentucky Valley. And then we've got a low pressure system that's sitting out in the Bahamas right here. What this is going to do is it's going to keep most of the severe weather out of Tennessee and out of Kentucky, and it's going to bring in the heat. It is going to be hot out in the Tennessee Valley, East Coast over the next few days. That all starts to change as we've got a little short wave forming out to the west, and short waves are notorious for bringing us severe weather. It's not very strong, but it does impede our high pressure system just a little bit, and we see a few changes as we head into the end of this week and early next week. What do those changes look like? I think especially in terms of heat, you're going to see a bit of a change here. I think we've been pretty warm here lately. Right now, I mean today, we're above average across most of the northern plains, across the northern portion of the Rockies as well, up into Montana. Today, hey, look at this. Ooh, look at all that heat today. Tomorrow, we continue to stay pretty warm across Chicago, St. Louis, Atlanta, Washington. All of your temperatures are likely to be above average for this time of the year. And then if you want some warm weather in the northern plains, we see those temperatures warm back up by Friday. So Denver, Colorado, all the way up to the Dakotas, it looks like temperatures will stay pretty warm as we head into the end of this work week. Warm and humid too. Look at these dew points. The darker these green colors here, the higher the dew points, which means the higher the humidity. It's going to be pretty sultry out there. Just hot and humid as we head into the rest of the work week. And moving through to your 4th of July forecast. Oh, can you believe that we are at the very end of June? Just talking about 4th of July now. Now this is for the end of next week, June 30th to July 4th. It looks like temperatures are likely to be above average out on the west coast and on the east coast. It looks like those temperatures are likely to stay above average anywhere from Atlanta all the way up to New York with a little bit of a cooler change. I told you we'd see a little bit of a change in here. Anywhere from New Mexico all the way up into Oklahoma, about average as you get into places like Iowa and Nebraska. And what about that extended rain outlook here? Well, it looks like we're going to stay in this very active pattern, likely to get above average rainfall totals as we head into July 4th as well. The very beginning of July, we stay in this pretty active pattern. which is honestly really, really good for the fire danger because we don't want to see that fire danger out there. I'm reading some of your questions here, and we don't want that fire danger to, impede your 4th of July plans. We were just talking about fireworks today, no burn bans, right? We don't want to see that. We want to be able to enjoy your 4th of July. So that rain is really good this time of the year. Hey, thanks for following us today. Give us a follow on all of our other social media platforms as well. We post social media stuff, we post weather stuff all the time on each of these platforms: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. One fun thing that we've been doing here lately is we've been going back into the hurricane archives. So we've been going back to our hurricane archives, and we've been watching these hurricane videos from places like hurricanes like Nate, Hurricane Michael, Hurricane Harvey, Hurricane Florence. All of these were really, really cool experiences for our storm chasers, and we'll be posting more videos on all of these platforms, so make sure that you follow us there. And if you're interested in a hail, wind, or tornado map, give us a call at 855-334-4245 or email us at info@hailtrace.com, or even head over to our website, hailtrace.com, for more information on hail, wind, and tornado maps. Alrighty, thanks for joining us today. I'm meteorologist Taylor Cox, and we'll see you back here same time, same place for your forecast tomorrow.